We're still celebrating game 3 in a 3-0 win. That Celtics defense is suffocating. Ime Udoka, how is he out coaching Steve Nash? What is going on? What is going wrong there in Brooklyn? How did Robert Williams look? And the Ben Simmons saga. Oh, man, he's out for game 4, of course. We're going to talk about it right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Thank you for making this show part of your daily routine and your first listen every day, Monday through Friday. And this week was a bonus Sunday podcast after the Saturday postgame. So if you missed that, make sure you're checking that out on your feeds, on YouTube, wherever, because that was the postgame Game 3. Celtics are a game away from the sweep podcast. But looking at the numbers of that podcast, a lot of people have found it. So that's really good. I'm glad. I'm John Karalis. I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I've written a book called The Boston Celtic All-Time All-Stars, and I was one of the media voters for their 75th anniversary team. And I'm here in New York City with the Celtics, doing this podcast from my hotel room after last night's podcast from the Barclays Center. So, maybe tomorrow night's podcast will be at the Barclays Center again, hopefully after a sweep. So plenty to get to here. Ben Simmons, the Nets are quitting on the team. Basically, they're just done, and they kind of seemed done mid-game in there. And the Celtics defense has just been amazing. We're going to talk about all that in this show. First of all, this show is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is where the game starts, and this podcast starts with Tom Westerholm of Boston.com. What's up, Tom_NBA?
What up? How you doing?
Oh, I'm great. I'm just loving life, man. It's been a great weekend for me. Great weekend for the Celtics. Great weekend for the podcast. I mean, I'm just flying high, baby. And I'm in New York, man. I love coming back to New York, so I'm in a good spot.
Would you say you're on the verge of sweeping life?
I'm one game away from sweeping life this weekend. I don't know, I'm trying to figure out where to start with this podcast, and I think it's going to be with Ben Simmons. Let's just start with Ben Simmons, because that just happened when we're recording this Sunday night. All of the momentum felt like, here comes Ben Simmons. Here comes Ben Simmons. Is it going to be game 1, game 2? No, game 3, maybe. Game 4. Game 4 really feels like a possibility. And then he wakes up this morning. Oh, my back. Oh, God. Wow. Geez. My back seems not great. I don't know if I can go tonight. So he is out for game 4. And when I saw that report, Tom, I was just laughing because I'm sitting in a restaurant eating dinner, finishing up a story for Boston Sports Journal, and that report comes out, and I'm laughing by myself. People must think I'm crazy. Not just for that reason, probably for plenty. Look at the way I look with this big crazy beard. Like I'm a giant person laughing hysterically on his own in a restaurant. Yeah, man. Like, was this not like completely predictable? I never expected Ben Simmons to actually play in this series.
Well, no. So I disagree with that. I think Ben Simmons
really?
Well, okay.
No, go ahead.
No,
disagree, you bastard. Give it to me.
I will. No, I will disagree with you. All right. So no, I'm of two minds, right? So on the one hand, I do think that there is like there's going to be this immediate rush to condemn Ben Simmons for being like soft, whatever. And like I do get some of that. I will say a herniated disc is no joke. Like that is that is a very real injury. It does flare up. It does hurt a lot. It is very incapacitating. It's not a joke of an injury, and so he had that in his back. Yeah, it might very well have flared up. I also will say that this was the most predictable flare-up of all time because Ben Simmons wasn't going to come back 3-0. Like, I think there would have been a chance, like, if I were to guess, right? Like, I don't have any inside information on this, obviously, but if I were to guess, I would guess that, like, Ben Simmons might have had some soreness in his back, and he might not have been ruled out still at this point if it was 2-1, right? Like, there's going to be another game in Brooklyn. There's a chance to tie the series, send it back to Boston 2-2. Ben Simmons gets to have this, like, I'm back kind of narrative moment. He doesn't get to have that because the Celtics are going to win this series. Like, they're about to, they're going to win game 4. This Nets team is done. They've quit. They're done. So, like, I think, like, it might be a little bit of, like, the injury is real, and he's, the loss kind of coaxed him into to not wanting to play. Because, like, yeah, I mean, there's no point coming back now. Like, even if you win a game, okay, it's 3-1, great. The Celtics are going back to Boston, and they have Rob Williams. And every game that Rob Williams plays, he gets a little more comfortable and a little bit back to himself. Like, there's no good scenario for the Nets here. So, I don't know. That's the only reason I'm torn is because, like, a herniated disc is real, and it is a very serious injury, and it does hurt a whole lot. It's very incapacitating. All of that 100%. On the other hand, Ben Simmons has not given us a ton of reason to give him the benefit of the doubt either. So I don't know, man.
No, this is why I don't give him the benefit of the doubt, because somebody had to be feeding Shams and right. Woj the information. He very easily could have been working on his own and progressing.
Do you think that guy's name rhymes with Ditch Hall?
I mean, could be. But this didn't have to come out to these guys this way, right? It didn't have to come out to Woj and Shams and all of that. Like, it could have been work out on your own. The injury report comes out. He's questionable. Steve Nash. Oh, he's questionable or whatever. What's he doing? Or he's out, whatever it is. You could have gone just down a normal route, and this wouldn't be a storyline. But we had to get the big run-up. We had to get the big thing. Oh, here it comes. Oh, my God. Momentum is building. And we know how it works with these guys, especially Shams. I mean, basically, the agents are writing the tweets for this guy. And he comes in, and it's, the momentum is building. And it's all this big positive. Here we go. And now it's like, wah, wah. Or the Price is Right sound, the Price is Right losing sound. It's almost worse for Ben to have done it this way, because now, regardless of where the truth is, and we're just guessing, we don't know where the truth is, but right now, it just looks like old Ben said, ooh, 3-0. Can't really get myself to be going here. That back is really feeling stiff. That's, this entire thing has been an incredible disservice to Ben Simmons, who I'm not even rooting against. I'm not rooting against Ben Simmons at all. I want him to come back. The league is better when great players play in the league. And so bring him back. Hopefully he gets back and he's right. And I have a very strong, it, people who listen know it, people who follow me on Twitter know it. Mental health is a major, major issue for me, just on a personal level. And I'm not going to make fun of him for any mental health issues, but this narrative, the way it was spun, the way this whole thing was handled, either it was a smokescreen or something else, gamesmanship, whatever, it makes Ben look bad. The second it got into Twitter and the sources and all of that, he was never going to win, because if he came back, I guarantee you he was going to look terrible, because he was playing on a new team, new teammates. Game one, in a situation where a guy hasn't played for a year with new teammates, there's going to be like miscommunications. Wasn't going to go well. You need, like, it's like saying, why isn't he awesome in game one of the preseason?
Right.
It just, it's like, I feel myself getting upset because they messed with Ben Simmons. They messed with a player and like, they just it didn't have to go this way. The Nets could have just let it play out normally.
and you say like, why isn't he awesome? Like it's like saying, why isn't he awesome first game of the preseason? Not only that, the other team has had an entire, like the team that he's playing against has had an entire season to gel and is like, kicking everybody's ass, right? Like, so it's like, it's twofold thing of like the hardest player in the NBA to integrate would have been trying to integrate himself on the fly with a team full of superstars who already have everything established their way. You can say, oh, well, like just use Simmons as the Jayson Tatum guard, or even the Jaylen Brown guard, right? Like just stick him on somebody that you want to slow down. But then on the other end, the Celtics can ignore him. Like they don't have to do anything with Ben Simmons on the floor because he's not doing anything offensively unless it's like transition. Like it would not have been a good situation to bring him back. I honestly think the best case scenario for Simmons was always like he doesn't have to come back this year. He can take some time, have a preseason because, hey,
yes,
if he doesn't look awesome in the preseason, then it doesn't matter. Then it's preseason and that's fine. Like, instead of having it be like, okay, you have to look awesome because it's the playoffs and we're trying to win a game here. Like you said, I think that just does a massive disservice to him because, like honestly, as much as the narrative for the next couple of days is going to be like, wow, Ben Simmons, this guy's terrible, this guy's the worst, whatever. It probably won't last that long. So that's good because people are going to get distracted. There's going to be a million great storylines.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody remembers anything more than like an hour anyway. So like, yeah, people will get some jokes off on Twitter. And if his name comes up in the offseason, yeah, he'll probably get clowned on. But like realistically, he's not going to be a talking point after the Celtics win this series. He's not going to be a talking point, really for like the rest until after June. And I mean, after that, there'll be other things to distract people. This, I think, is actually like minus all of the narrative stuff, minus the stuff that's going to get like blown up on ESPN for the next little bit. This might be okay for him because now he can come back next year. Now he can integrate himself normally and naturally like a player would who got traded in the offseason. Hopefully that works out a little better for him because, I mean, he has gone through a lot, right? Like
sure.
He's had a lot of mental health stuff. He had a herniated disc. Like those are, I mean, that's real stuff. So anyway, long and the short of it being Ben Simmons was never going to change this series anyway. Like that's the other thing to remember is like, that's like
right.
Rob Williams coming back might, if the Nets were being competitive in this series, Rob Williams coming back absolutely would have changed things. But Ben Simmons is not the same thing. It's just a completely different situation.
And the reason why we're able to spend 8 minutes talking about Ben Simmons being ruled out for Game 4 is because the Celtics are up 3-0, and we feel really good about where the Celtics are. But we'll talk more about the Celtics, and let's talk about Rob Williams when we come back. And we'll do that, and the Celtics defense and all of that stuff. First, let me tell you about Athletic Greens AG1, which is this great powder. It's a vitamin. It's packed with vitamins that will help you kind of get your more energy, better gut health, help you optimize your immune system. It's a daily supplement that you just throw one scoop into about 8 ounces of water, and they give you like a little water bottle to measure it all out. You're going to get 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to start your day out right. It's just going to help you. I know I'm on the run. I'm sitting here podcasting from a hotel, and what do I have to eat? I got to run to shoot around. I got to stop by a coffee shop to get something real quick to eat. So I know sometimes I'm just not going to get everything that I need into my body. That's where AG1 comes in. It has less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, artificial anything, and it still tastes good. And it's made with high quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb, which is one of the biggest problems when it comes to daily supplements. Your body just knocks it right out of you. But this is actually, you're going to absorb a lot of that stuff here. And it only costs $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. And it's cheaper than getting all of these different supplements yourself. Trust me, that's very expensive. And AG1, only $3 a day. So reclaim your health, arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Just one scoop in a cup of water a day. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs, which is very convenient for me, like this, with your first purchase. All you got to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NBA network. That's athleticgreens.com/NBA network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. How about making Locked On NBA your second listen every day? Locked On NBA. Rotating hosts, including me, this guy, with Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans every Wednesday. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Great coverage of the playoffs. Great coverage of the playoffs. All of our local hosts, our local experts are great. Let me also give a plug while I'm here to my Cameo account, which sounds silly to say, but if you're on Cameo and you want a shout out, just look me up, John Karalis. It's only $13 if you want birthday shout outs or whatever. If you can find me on Cameo, people have requested it, and I've actually done a few since I've signed up. So I'm very excited to be on Cameo. So find me on Cameo. All right, let's bring Tom Westerholm back in here to talk about Robert Williams. And what did you see from Rob in his return? We just talked about Ben Simmons. Let's talk about a guy who's actually coming back and playing.
I saw not that much, and I think that's like such good news for the Celtics from Rob. Like, to me, look, I didn't think he really did much. Sure, he was there. Like, I thought he dissuaded some shots. He played 15 minutes. Like, he was not a hyper impactful player on that game, and the Celtics won anyway. Like, to me, what that means is that there's a whole nother level that the Celtics can reach, and they haven't touched it yet. And they're still up 3-0 on the 7 seed that nobody wanted to play against. Like, that's like, I mean, what a spot to be in, man. Like their third best player, or like, I think their third most impactful player this season is coming back. Like, he's, this is like, and that's really good. I didn't think he looked particularly comfortable on the defensive end. I thought it takes time to get back into the flow of an NBA game. I know Ime Udoka was saying like that. Obviously, there were no setbacks. All of that is really good, obviously. But I mean, look, you just got to get back out there on the floor. You got to have. I always think that a lot of NBA players kind of need that one game to like get back into the flow of things, right, get the wind back, just kind of be good. Rob got that, and the Celtics won and went up 3-0. That's huge. Like that's what a way to come back. That's as good as you could draw it up, because now he's got his legs back. He's got his win back. Next game, he'll be just that much better. And then we'll be game 1 of the Bucks, I assume. So, it's a great spot for him to be in, great spot for the Celtics to be in. I thought it was like everything that you could have reasonably asked for a debut. Just he's healthy and he got his win back. It felt about that simple.
People really do need to understand how hard that is to get your win back for an NBA game. And like, I never thought that Rob would come back and risk any injury. I did write in my Boston Sports Journal story that he, like, with no structural damage, he'll be fine. And we saw, like, he caught 2 lobs really, and only one of them counted. The one that counted was just absolutely ridiculous. R.I.P. Andre Drummond. First of all, side note, did you see the picture of that dunk with Ben Simmons on the sideline in his kaleidoscope outfit? It was,
yeah.
Oh my God. I tweeted it out. It's such a great photo because the aesthetic inside the Barclays Center is very monochromatic. You got the Nets in black. You got the Celtics in all green. You got a dark background. You got a bunch of black uniforms on the bench. And there's Ben Simmons in an 80s, like 10 color kind of like, it's just unbelievable. It's almost like photoshopped. It's one of the most hilarious things.
I'm looking at it now. He's also just standing straight up where everybody else is sitting
right
down.
He's standing there. He's almost like standing and disinterested.
Yeah,
it was like he's no emotion. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It is a very wild. That is a funny photo. He does look very photoshopped.
Yes, I know it's great podcasting to talk about a photo that people can't see. So that's why Locked On Celtics is where it is, baby. But no, Rob I thought was, I think you're accurate. Like he was just kind of there. Yep. This was a great way to just kind of work him back in. And by the way, how awesome is it for the Celtics that you could take game 3 of a playoff series and be like, yeah, we're just going to work our guy back in.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
The plan that these guys have executed is so good. And I'll save more of this discussion for later, but Ime is just exuded confidence. The confidence in this series has been dripping off of Udoka. Going back to the Simmons discussion, he was asked before game 2 about Ben Simmons, and he was like, yeah, I've coached him. A lot of these guys have played against him. If he comes back, we know what to do. Like, it was like, oh, damn. He was like, I don't care. He's been saying all along with the proper deference to how good Kevin Durant is and how good Kyrie Irving can be, that they knew. Ime's like, I played against them. I've coached against them. I have coached him directly. I know. Like, he's like basically saying, like, I know what I'm doing. Like, and this is why, and I said this in yesterday's podcast, but I feel like this is worth repeating. When like, yeah, not a problem. I feel good about the game plan. Yeah, we can beat these guys. Of course they were going to play these. Of course they were like, yeah, we're going to win this last game. Not a problem. We'll play whoever we play. And people were like, oh, I don't know. And he was like, I know. You might not know on the outside. You might not know, talking head who's like 5'6" and never played a basketball game. But me, Ime Udoka, I played against this dude. I know this dude. I got it. No problem. I think one lesson that I'm coming away with is when Ime exudes that level of confidence, there's a reason behind it. All season long, whenever he's been confident about something so far, and I know it's early in his career, but so far, everything he's been like, no, I feel like we're going to turn it around. We're like, okay, Ime, turned it around. I feel like we'll play who can play. I know Kevin Durant. We're like, okay, Ime. He's like, nope, shut him down. Like, everything that he's been confident in, I think has been for a reason, which is just wild.
Yeah, I mean, look, it goes back. We've talked about it a million times on the pod, but just goes back to, like, the defense. He was like, well, yeah, we're gonna get the defense together, and then the defense came together. It's like, okay, we got, we've been working on the defense. Pretty soon we're gonna start working on the offense, and we were like, yeah, okay, dude, like,
right?
Because that's not usually how it goes. Like, you don't usually, perfect one thing and then perfect the next thing and just kind of accept the results that happen in between the perfection. And it's like, but he did. And yeah, we're like, yeah, okay, you may. And yeah, second half of the season, Celtics are the number 1 defense and the number 1 offense in the NBA. It's like, okay, Ime, yeah, all same. I'm still saying okay, Ime, but the sarcasm's gone now. Like, okay, yeah, touche, you win. He's good. He's a very good coach. He is just fricasseeing Steve Nash. Like, it is not pretty between those two men right now.
It is not. That it's just excellent analysis. It is not pretty. Let's talk about that, because this is the other storyline. Steve Nash is like, I mean, getting fired or something.
I think he's getting fired. Yeah.
Ooh, baby, that's something. All right. Well, we'll take a second here to gather those thoughts. First, I got to tell you all about Built Bar, as if you haven't heard me talking about Built Bar before, but eventually I'm going to get you to buy this stuff because I buy it and it's good. And the best part is, like, I have them with me to travel. I know when I need a snack. It's actually a pretty good snack because it's only 130 calories, but it's going to give me 17 grams of protein and only like 4 net carbs, 4 grams of sugar. Like, it's not going to kill me as a snack, which is something I can't say about some of the other snacks I might like get on the run at airports or wherever I'm running to. But this is great for a meal replacement. If you're looking to just, I'm going to get through this meal and try to cut my calories, this is going to get you through. It's going to feed your body a little bit. If you're going to work out afterwards, you can have one of these protein bars, which is the way a lot of people eat protein bars. And it's going to give you those 17 grams of protein. It's going to feed those muscles. And you got a ton of great flavors, whatever type of flavor you like. You like chocolate stuff, you like fruity stuff, you like minty stuff. It's all right there. And they get a ton of other products. I can't spend 2 hours talking about all of this stuff because that'll take up too much of the podcast. So go to built.com, just scroll through it, and use the promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your order. But don't feel the pressure to buy a lot, because 15% off with LOCK15 works every single time. So you're not burning a promo code. Go check it out. Find something you think you might like. Try it. Use a promo code. If you like it, great. Go buy more. You want to try something different? Go for it. LOCK15 at built.com. It works every single time. Get 15% off every single order. So, Tom, the whole Ime and Steve Nash thing, I wrote about it. I wrote a column about it. Nash, I almost feel bad for Nash. Steve Nash was never supposed to be in this spot. He was never going to be the X's and O's guy. He was supposed to be the guy that communicated to the stars, who understood what the stars were doing, what they wanted to do, and he was going to kind of translate that for the rest of the guys. He was supposed to be the ego manager and basically leave all the other stuff to his assistants.
Right.
And when he had D'Antoni, when he had Ime Udoka, they were fine. And then D'Antoni left and Udoka's in Boston, and they're not so fine anymore. Part of that is is not Kevin Durant. It's Kyrie Irving's fault. I think Kyrie Irving is the catalyst for a lot of this stuff. Unexcused absence, the mysterious kind of leave of absence last season, the
vaccine drama,
that stuff, that it just, the Nets never had a chance. The Nets never had a chance to do what they had planned to do. And Nash isn't the right guy to be creative X's and O's wise, because he's a superstar. He's a superstar, and he's supposed to communicate with the superstars. Meanwhile, Ime Udoka was a role player. And the role player who had to carve out his niche in the NBA by understanding every aspect of the game and getting every little advantage, every little angle, every little anything he could to put himself in the right spot to succeed. And I think that's why role players make better coaches, because you have to think the game better. And superstars don't make great coaches, except in very specific situations, because by virtue of their talent, they just don't have to think the game through the same way.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. Like, yeah, you're a superstar. It's funny because, like, I mean, some of the greatest superstars, right, did think the game at an insanely high level. But I think for a lot of them, it's a different kind of thinking the game, right? So, like, Larry, like, I think a lot of them feel the game, as opposed, like, and it's like something that's very hard to explain to somebody else who isn't, LeBron James and his 6'9" and an otherworldly passer, or you go back further, that isn't Larry Bird and just kind of, has just like an otherworldly feel that is almost the same thing as superstar athleticism. It's like, right. It's like a very similar attribute. So, I mean, look, I feel for Steve Nash too. I almost feel for the Nets organization, because it's like, on the one hand, yeah, like, you went and hired this guy who didn't have any coaching experience, who the players wanted you to hire. But on the other hand, what were you supposed to do? Not, hire the guy that the hired guns wanted. Right. Like, your entire team building plan was based on, like, bringing in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And hey, you know what? That was also Danny Ainge's plan. Like, it's a good plan, is to bring in two superstars. That was literally,
that's a great point.
That was literally Danny Ainge's point, or Danny Ainge's plan. So, and the problem is, this is the risk you take. Like, firing Steve Nash is going to be awkward, because he is an NBA legend. Like, he is a multiple-time MVP. He's got all this name recognition. It will be very embarrassing. And honestly, it's not going to reflect well on Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. So if you're the Nets, you are in the awkward position of probably having to fire your coach, but the coach that was chosen by the guys who you're trying to keep happy. Like, it's just this very awkward thing. And you know what? This is the risk you take when you hire, you hire a coach like that. I mean, there was always the possibility that it wasn't going to work. And if it didn't work, you were going to have to do something embarrassing. So, look, it's a mess, man. That I don't know what the Nets are going to do. I think they're in trouble, because, like, Ben Simmons is going to fix all of this? Like, I like Ben Simmons, but Ben Simmons is not fixing all of this.
No.
It's a tough spot, man.
They're in a very tough spot. This is the business of Kyrie Irving. And like, I'm not,
it really is.
I'm not saying it's like people outside of this might say, oh, here comes the Celtics guys, crapping all over Kyrie. But no, I'm sorry. Like,
I get accused of being an apologist every single day on Twitter for Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant.
This is the business of Kyrie Irving.
It is.
Until people accept who Kyrie Irving is as a player, then this is going to continue happening because he's treated like a megastar, and he is not a megastar. He is not a number one guy. We have to, like, at some point, somebody's going to recognize that he is not a number one guy. He's never on his own led any team to anything. And the last two teams he's been on, okay, he had the Celtics experience, which fine. He had like the knee thing that the year the Celtics went to the conference finals. Okay.
Right. Yep.
And then the next year he botched how to handle that locker room. Just completely. It was absolutely the wrong, like 100% wrong. He just didn't get it right. Okay, fine. This is his first time trying to lead. You can even give him a pass. But then he comes to Brooklyn and he just disappears for a while. And he had, like, the vaccine stance is a different type of thing, but also he's not with the team for a long time. And then he has the audacity to sit there on that podium after game 3 and be like, yeah, those guys have been gelling since Christmas. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about getting our team to gel. How do you make up for all that lost time? Like, you really, you don't know what you could have done. What, like, really? So Nash, it's kind of not his fault. At the same time, he's not a good coach. He's just not at the X's and O's. Let's get creative. Oh my God, we're getting, destroyed. The Celtics are taking Durant completely out of things. How do we get Durant open? How do we do certain things to get him going? Or just say, hey, they want to go all out. Ime does what Jayson Tatum says, fine, be a decoy. Let's draw up some stuff that makes KD a decoy that pulls 2 guys out and 3. Let's work some stuff where KD is drawing so many people that each play down, the other guys are just getting off, and it's more than Bruce Brown. Like, but he's not even drawing that stuff up.
I just wanted to interject really quick. The super interesting thing about that point is that, like, Tatum would listen, like Ime Udoka would tell Tatum, you need to be a decoy, pass the ball, and Tatum would 100% do it. And that speaks so highly of Ime because the whole concept behind Steve Nash was that he was a star, so the stars would listen to him. But That's not how it worked out, right? If Steve Nash told Kevin Durant, okay, you might score like 11 points, go try to rack up 13 assists. I wonder if Kevin Durant would listen to him or respect that idea or be willing to do it. It doesn't seem like it because that's what the Nets needed the last couple of games. Like, the way the Celtics are defending them, they needed Kevin Durant to be that facilitator. So it's fascinating that, like, Ime, he wasn't a star player. He barely held on to his NBA job for a long time. And, it just so happens that he's a great basketball mind. And it turns out that players will listen to a great basketball mind. Like, you don't have to trick them with these, like, smoke and mirrors of, like, ooh, here's Steve Nash. You like this shiny Steve Nash, don't you? That's not what they like. Players are smart. They're smart basketball minds. They know when somebody is right. And Ime has been right, 95%, 99% of the time this year. So when he tells Jayson Tatum, go be a decoy, Tatum's like, got you. Let's do this. And Nash just does not have that same cachet with his stars, even though he was a star.
Even though he was a star. But you know what? Here's the thing. It's not about who you were. It's about who you are.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Because Steve Nash is not a star coach. And Ime Udoka, 100% is.
Right. And the world is full of people who used to be something and who aren't that anymore. And I mean, that's part of the pitfalls of being a superstar player who wants to get into something more.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. It's tough. And why does Ime Udoka have these guys all bought in? Because seriously, they are all bought in. And I can't say it sounds cliche, but everything they're doing is together. This team couldn't be more together. They couldn't be more bought in with each other. They actually like each other. They're playing for each other. They're playing for their coach. This is the most cohesive unit I've seen in a long, long time. And it's not a knock on these past teams. It's just that it's just all come together. And why? Why is that? They respect Ime, because Ime came in and said, this is how it's going to be. And he held them to that.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out how to make this point without really pissing people off.
Okay, I think I might be able to help because I've for a while now I've had this concept that we're not going to see certain types of players as much anymore because players don't want to look a certain type of way. Like they don't want to look cringe, right? Nobody in the modern world where there's social media and everything, you just do not want to look cringe. That's like, you don't want to get ratioed. You don't want to get dunked on, whatever.
Sure.
And on the NBA court, you don't want to get dunked on. You don't want to get crossed over. And you just kind of got to be a little bit detached. And I think one of the things that Ime has done is, like you said, it sounds like a cliche, but these guys are all bought in, right? And being bought in sounds I want to keep a little bit of distance in case this doesn't work out. But Ime has convinced these guys, no, if we all do all of the right things together and we all buy in and we're all, I don't know how much this is Ime, but it's we're all playing Uno on the plane and we're a bunch of grown men, but truly we're a bunch of grown men who are like a college team. Let's have these elements that work for other teams. And he has done such a good job of convincing those guys to kind of set aside these okay, you're not too cool to be a part of a good basketball team. You know what's cool? Being a good basketball team. And everybody's oh yeah. Let's be a great basketball team. And I think there's something to that. I think he's convinced these guys hey, it's cool to care. It's cool to want to win. It's cool to try to be a good basketball team. And I think that matters, especially with a young basketball team.
That just sounds like the end of the Mac Day episode of Always Sunny, where Country Mac dies and Dennis is you know what's cool? Being alive. That's what's cool.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
The point I was making before is no matter how horrible it is that people, how horrible a thing it is that people have said, if the person is being honest and if the person is true to himself or herself, you invariably get you gotta at least respect the honesty. That whole concept of and there are politicians who will say something and they're God, that's terrible, but man, at least that person's being honest. And there's always that feeling of gotta respect it. And even though maybe you don't, that's kind of the feeling that people get. And so at the very baseline of Ime Udoka, you come in and you set that baseline of here's how things are going to go. And this is how things go. Invariably, the guys on the team will be gotta respect it. This is what he said it was going to happen. Yep. And then you add in the actual content of what he's saying. You're it works. We got to all of the stuff that they went through at the beginning of the season. It's they had to go through that stuff because all of that stuff they went through at the beginning of the season, that the stuff that Ime kind of compared to parenting, where he's we were just talking to your son before we started recording. You tell your son to not do something once. Does he do it again?
Of course.
How many times does he do it before he's okay, I'll stop?
Yeah, until he gets hurt, essentially. Yeah.
Right. Which is exactly the point.
Yep.
The Celtics, you told them don't do this. And they're okay, yeah. And they went out until they got hurt, which is losing games, blowing leads, all of that stuff, not taking advantage of double teams, all that stuff. Ime got these guys to buy in. Steve Nash never got his guys to buy in because he was never that guy. His job was to basically be a superstar translator for the rest of the team. I'm going to take what these guys want to do and we're going to apply it to you guys. And this is how we're going to roll. But invariably, time and time again, unless it's LeBron James, and it should work with Kevin Durant, but like too many things went wrong. You can't just do whatever those guys want to do.
Right.
And I think especially when one of those guys is Kyrie Irving, and especially after that whole thing, you built a team that was supposed to be around those two and James Harden. And I could coach that team, like theoretically, because it's just like, yeah, go. At that point, it's just subbing people in and out.
Right.
That's all. That's all.
Build the rotation. Okay, then yes.
Yes.
Here's
my plan.
With 40 minutes for him, 40 minutes for him. Piece that together. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's go.
What's your plan, John? I'm going to play those three guys together a lot. Okay. Wow. Genius.
And here's the thing. I am not going to let any of them never be on the court. Like one of them is going to be on the court at all times. Oh, wow. Good plan, man.
Whoa. Wow. Interesting. So, yeah, it's been wild. Ime, the coaching, and it's not even like adjustments. It's not even like Ime is just out coaching because of, he's made these genius adjustments. The only adjustment that he's made is like playing further up on pick and rolls and not letting Kyrie get going. I don't see a ton of like crazy adjustments in this series. It's basically like, we're going to keep doing what's working and you try to stop it. Okay. And they're like, can't stop it. So that's it.
Turns out playing the play great defense and great offense strategy is pretty effective in the NBA. If you're good on both sides, you're tough to beat. I've often said it.
You are a visionary. And now these guys are done. They're toast. The Nets they've quit.
They just seem like they've quit, man. Like even I don't know about you. I was watching that game last night and I never once was like, the Celtics might lose this. Nope. Even when the Nets were like down 3, down whatever at halftime, and people are like, everybody was doing the same thing that they did in game 1 where they were like, yeah, the Celtics are only up by this and Kevin Durant has only done this. It's like, we've seen 3 games of this now, guys. Like, like I don't see why the second half would change. And it always felt like the Celtics were the ones kind of not so much taking their feet off the gas, but like, not like it felt like every one of the Nets runs had more to do with the Celtics, like turning the ball over or doing something silly than actually, like the Nets making some kind of concerted run. Like shout out to Bruce Brown. That dude balled out, but like this Nets team, they're cooked.
There were times when I was watching, and I love my seat at Barclays Center because I'm high up. I love being high up, and I have like it's a baseline view, but it's actually pretty good when you're that high, where you're basically seeing both teams, like the entire play develop. I can watch a play develop, but out of the corner of my eye, I can still kind of see sideline stuff. I love that seat. I'd sign up for that seat every single time.
Also, the chairs are just so comfortable.
Oh my God, the most comfortable chairs in the league. Easily. No doubt about it. Barclays Center chairs are the most comfortable seats in the entire NBA. No doubt about that. But I watched.
Great place to park your butt and watch the Nets get roasted.
Sit there for 2.5 hours. Those long postseason national televised games. You got to get some good cushioned seats. They were really good. But I watched KD, the body language, especially after a couple of turnovers. He really looked frustrated. He really looked bad. And then, he would throw the ball to spots where he thought guys were going and they weren't there. And he got pissed off either at himself or his teammates or a little bit of both. So, like, what better compliment can you give a Celtics defense other than KD saying, sometimes I take myself out of the game now? Like that, he's seeing ghosts out there. He turns a corner and he just gives the ball up, and it's like, you could have shot that, dude. That's the shot that you're looking for, that you've been working for, and he just turns the corner and gives it up now. Like they've almost like trained him to expect at some point I'm getting hit here. I've got to give it up, and maybe that changes in game 4, but like, I don't know how much.
I mean, he's such a finesse player, and like there is something to like if you hit a finesse player enough times, it's gonna like throw them off their game. Like it does work. Like, and I think, it seems like that, like Ime always kind of had that in the bag for Durant. He was like, playoffs roll around. We're gonna make it so that you need extra long ice baths. And, like that's unpleasant. And you say that, like, seeing ghosts, and that's 100% it. Is like, even if the players aren't doing anything dirty, you're still like, okay, if I jump up, is somebody going to be under my foot when I land? Is, if I drive, am I going to get bumped? It's like that part of seeing ghosts happens too, even if the players aren't doing anything dirty. Because I don't think the Celtics are really doing anything dirty to KD.
I haven't seen it. No,
I haven't seen anything. But like, I do think you kind of get that in your head. Like, I mean, I think that honestly, as an aside, I think that's the whole reason that Pat Beverly is even in the NBA is because everybody's like convinced that he's going to injure them at any given moment.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point, man. It's a fair point.
If you're a finesse, like, look, if you're a finesse player, I think making you see ghosts is like very effective and very doable.
Yeah. Well, I compared it on Boston Sports Journal to the Nets are a Black Hawk helicopter, and they're supposed to have all this firepower that Boston couldn't handle. And Ime was like, you know what? We're going to pick off that rear rotor, and the whole thing's just going to spin and crash. And that's what they did. You picked off Kevin Durant, and all of that firepower they were supposed to have, like, none of it works. None of it. Kyrie plays off of Kevin Durant. Those guys all play off of Kevin Durant. And you want to give, and this is my favorite stat from Game 3, you want to give Bruce Brown 8 more field goal attempts than Kevin Durant? Fine. I don't care if he hits them all. Like, that's, if you come out of that, forget, you don't even need to know shooting percentages. All I need to tell you is, in Game 3, the Celtics held Kevin Durant to 8 fewer field goal attempts than Bruce Brown. People be like, down 2-0 at home, must win Game 3. And they held him to 8 fewer field goal attempts than Bruce Brown. Yeah. That's nasty. That's nasty.
Him. Yep.
Because what nastier defensive thing can you do to somebody than have them not even shoot the ball?
Yeah. That's it.
I mean, that's it.
Yep.
Amazing. And then, I will save this for another discussion, but I just want to drop this little nugget in now just to get it in first. The Celtics are playing Milwaukee in the next series. They just went up 3-1 on Chicago. So that's going to be Celtics Bucks. Who had the defensive game plan against the Milwaukee Bucks? Last year, it was Ime Udoka and the Brooklyn Nets, and they almost pulled off that series. And that was with the Brooklyn Nets defense.
And now Ime gets to have Al Horford. And
Marcus Smart.
And Chris Middleton might be limited. Yeah.
And Chris Middleton might be limited.
Yeah.
So just want to throw that into the ether, that the guy who put the defensive game plan against the Milwaukee Bucks that almost worked if KD was like a half a centimeter behind the line, that guy gets to reprise that plan with a significantly better defensive team.
Unless this series makes you think that it was Steve Nash who came up with that game plan. So if you think that,
get the hell out of here, man. We're done with you. Tom_NBA, everybody. Thanks a lot, Tom.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks to you for listening to another long episode. I just love going with these long episodes. I know it's supposed to be half an hour, but this is so much fun. We're talking about fun stuff. The Celtics are a game away from sweeping the Brooklyn Nets. This is fun stuff. Why am I going to stop talking 18 minutes ago? Let's keep it going. I'm going to wrap this show up, though. Next show, post-game, Game 4, hopefully talking about a win, hopefully talking about the Celtics sweep, hopefully talking about them getting with the Milwaukee Bucks, and we'll do crossovers with Locked On Bucks. I think the Locked On Nets crossovers might be done. So shout out to those guys. It's funny, I listened to the Locked On Nets podcast, and they were not happy with me, and I was not invited back. Probably because I was wrong, and I said Celtics in 5. It's actually Celtics in 4. It's my bad. Sorry, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you are still here, that means you love the show, right? So it means you're going to subscribe. Subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to the show on YouTube. The YouTube subscriptions are good, really picking up now. We're at like 5,400, crossed the 5,400 mark. So I said 5,000 by the end of the regular season. Now we're picking up like significant momentum here. So keep sharing that podcast. Tell your friends, tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.